wanted to share a video regarding what I have made claims to before, that the Hebrew and Aramaic language does affect our DNA. I was passed along a couple articles by a friend of mine, and I thought that it was worthy to mention these so that you can see that there is confirmation that this is in fact true. I'm going to read some of these things to you, and then I'm going to share a video from Richard Rudd, if anyone is familiar with his work with the gene keys, to also be another voice. I will make sure that I put links so that you can access the articles yourselves and read them, and because there's more involved in the articles than what I'm going to share. The latest research explains phenomena such as clairvoyance, intuition, spontaneous and remote acts of healing, self-healing, affirmation techniques, unusual light auras around people, namely spiritual masters, mind's influence on weather patterns, and much more. Russian scientists found out that our DNA can cause disturbing patterns in the vacuum, thus producing magnetized wormholes. And wormholes are the microscopic equivalents of the so-called Einstein-Rosen bridges in the vicinity of black holes left by burned-out stars. These are tunnel connections between entirely different areas in the universe through which information can be transmitted outside of space and time. The DNA attracts these bits of information and passes them on to our consciousness. A Russian researcher, whose name I'm not even going to try to attempt to pronounce, put DNA in a tube and then beamed a laser through it. When the DNA was removed, the laser light continued spiraling on its own, like it would through a crystal. This effect is called phantom DNA effect. It is surmised that energy from outside of space and time still flows through the activated wormholes after the DNA was removed. The side effect encountered most often in hypercommunication and also in human beings are inexplicable electromagnetic fields in the vicinity of the persons concerned. Electronic devices like CD players and the like can be irritated and cease to function for hours. When the electromagnetic field slowly dissipates, the devices function normally again. Many healers and psychics know this effect from their work. While Western science invested in the International Human Genome Project focusing on the 5% of the encoding triplets of DNA, the Soviet Union in 1990, a group of Russian scientists of the Russian Academy of Sciences was formed to study the complete human genome. The Russian research was taking a wide angle and held an open view to their studies. The research team included biophysicists, molecular biologists, embryologists, and even linguistic experts. Their research revealed that the supposed junk DNA that had been completely neglected and forgotten by Western mainstream science was no redundant leftover of evolution at all. Linguistic studies revealed that the sequencing of the codons of the non-coding DNA follow the rules of some basic syntax. There is a definite structure and logic in the sequence of these triplets, like some biological language. Research further revealed that the codons actually form words and sentences just like our ordinary human language follows grammar rules. Scientists have conducted much research on the origins of human languages and the origins of the grammatical rules that are so essential to all human languages. However, they have always failed to find the source. But now, for the first time in history, the origins of language may be surprisingly attributed to DNA. The language of the genes is much, much older than any human language that was ever uttered on this globe. It is even conceivable that the DNA grammar itself served as the blueprint for the development of human speech. Whereas the Western Human Genome Project deciphered the machine language code of the DNA molecule, the structure of the DNA bits formed by the sequence of nucleotides, Russian scholars discovered the higher level language present in DNA. Another amazing fact is that the group discovered that the DNA is by no means a closed book of life. He discovered that the text of the DNA book can be altered. The codons of the DNA string can be rearranged in different sequences. In other words, the software of the human genome, our DNA molecule, can be reprogrammed. Research revealed that the triplets in the DNA string are able to exchange places. Since the DNA was found to have a syntax and semantics akin to our human languages, it indicated that our current restricted understanding of DNA, serving only for the coding of reproduction of proteins for the chemical makeup of an organism, is only half of the story. When in vitro, DNA in test tubes were exposed to coherent laser light, the laser light spiraled along the DNA helix as if it was guided by the structure of the DNA molecule. The most amazing effect was noticed that when the DNA itself was removed, the laser light kept spiraling. The vacuum of the space that was just previously occupied by the DNA had changed, and something caused the laser light to keep spiraling. These effects have been measured and remained for quite some time after the DNA was removed. This effect is now becoming well known as the DNA phantom effect. They concluded again that a field structure was formed in the physical vacuum even when the original DNA was removed. And we've seen similar examples of vacuum changes before that could be attributed to the torsion fields. The most astonishing experiment that was performed by this group is the reprogramming of the DNA codon sequences using modulated laser light. From their discovered grammatical syntax of the DNA language, they were able to modulate coherent laser light and even radio waves, and add semantics, meaning, to the carrier wave. In this way, they were able to reprogram in vivo DNA in living organisms by using the correct resonant frequencies of DNA. The most impressive discovery made so far is that spoken language can be modulated to the carrier wave with the same reprogramming effect. Now, this is baffling and stunning scientific discovery. Our own DNA can simply be reprogrammed by human speech, supposing that the words are modulated on the correct carrier frequencies. Whereas Western science uses complicated biochemical processes to cut and paste DNA triplets in the DNA molecule, Russian scientists use modulated laser light to do the exact same thing. The Russians have proven to be very successful in repairing damaged DNA material in vivo.
From the glossary. Codon. I might do two here. A section of DNA made up of 3 base pairs and which codes for a specific amino acid. There are a total of 64 codons in human DNA. The 64 gene keys allow you to directly communicate with the 64 codons in the DNA of every cell in your body through the law of resonance. Through contemplation, absorption, and embodiment of the gene keys, you will raise the frequency of vibration in the 64 codons, thus unlocking the secrets of your higher nature. Beautiful, simple set of statements that really encapsulate the whole of the gene keys. There's this resonant field that we are contemplating as we come into the gene keys work, as we come in to understand them, and as we come into really penetrate them with our mind, with our emotions, and then ultimately into our physical body. The absorption of the gene keys takes time. That the body is having to soak up the truths that there are 3 layers to everything. That these shadows, our suffering, are here to be transformed, and that we must transform it, and then we enable the higher aspects of our nature to flower through that process. But it's all through the law of resonance into the body, because through this universal code of the 64 and these codons. I'll also do the codon rings. A codon ring, a chemical family within your body made up of one or more codons. There are a total of 21 codon rings, each one relating to a specific amino acid or stop codon or a start codon. The codon rings are transgenetic chemical families that operate across entire gene pools, drawing certain people together naturally in pairs, groups, and ultimately forming whole societies. The codon rings are the biological machinery behind what the ancients called karma. The manner in which they interlock forms the geometric unified field underpinning humanity, and as human DNA mutates in order to carry the higher frequencies that are coming with the great change, the 21 codon rings will bring humanity into the biological realization of its true nature and unity. So a bit of a mystical one. You know, there'll come a time when I can go deeper into the codon rings. They're a very profound field of study within the gene key synthesis, because they show this workings of the Maya, of the illusion, of the fabric, the very fabric of the universe, and they offer answers to all the questions of the universe through those rings. They are groupings of gene keys, families of gene keys. So within the 64, there's also these 21. And actually it's really 22. There's a mystery because one of the families has an extra one hidden inside it, a ring within a ring. And so there's 22. So it relates to these sacred alphabets that are based on the number 22, master number, like the Hebrew alphabet, the tarot, those kind of things. And it describes the means and the manner in which our entire universe is kind of threaded together, the codon rings, and how it is, you know, it says here that the geometric unified field underpinning humanity, and as the DNA mutates in order to carry higher frequencies, it's the codon rings that will bring humanity into the biological realization of our true nature. So there's a way through which the codon rings work through our kind of field that link us together, that bring together relationships, that bring together families, societies, that help us to actually create these collective intelligences that then form a higher grid of collective intelligence through humanity. So first of all, the codons have to come into a resonance inside the individual, and that's what we do with the gene keys to begin with. And then we apply that to the relationship through the Venus sequence, which actually starts to bridge that, you know, the two auras, those two sets of codon rings, two sets of codons, you know, so those 64 coming into higher resonance through a partner. And then that then begins to emanate out into a small grouping, whether it's 3, 4, 5 people, something like that, a family or a unit. And that starts to bring together these groups, these groupings of people who are connected at a very profound level. This is how the awakening will work. This is how over centuries, so you'll find these groups that come together through time and space, and they're being brought together by these sacred alphabets in our DNA. They're actually through the karmic resonance, through the field, so that certain people will help unlock and complete each other, so that you end up with these unified geometric fields, these grids through time, space. And then that gets translated out, those small groupings, those units of people as they come together, whether they're families, whether they're just, they're kind of energy families. It then begins to create societies and networks and communities that are, communities that are awakening. The entire community is awakening. But it's made up of these building blocks, and then finally societies, and then finally humanity. That's the means by which the codon rings will bring us together, through these building blocks. So quite a deep mystery there, and look forward to one day going deeper into it.